Hello there. Joining me on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange today, we have Joe McLean, Managing Partner at MAI Capital Management, the Sports and Entertainment Division. Joe, thank you so much for being here today.
Great. This is always cool to be here, so thanks for having me.
And it's your season here with basketball, March Madness, one of the last days of March.
We have the Final Four coming up, and then next week is the Masters, and so this is always an exciting time in sports.
It sure is, and a lot of sports athletes with high net worth. So let's dive right in there. So one of the things I want to know, how are high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals and your clients planning for the future in the current geopolitical market?
Well, I think it goes far beyond just thinking about portfolios now, and they're really analyzing their personal balance sheets, like understanding the money going in and out of their life from a personal finance standpoint and matching what it costs to be them on an annual basis with how aggressively they can pursue potential opportunities in investing. So some clients are getting less liquid in an environment where people were doing more alternatives. They're getting less illiquid and focusing on matching that with their personal balance sheet.
So how do sports and entertainment individuals plan differently in terms of managing their money than, I don't know, a civilian would?
So quite often as an advisor with a non-athlete, you're thinking about long-term and 20 years from now and 30 years retirement planning. A younger person's really thinking about next Friday. And so it's very short-term milestones, focusing on understanding money going in and out of your life on a monthly basis and financially keeping score. So we always talk about, our rule is you got to save 60 cents of every single dollar that you make, minimum, and pay yourself first. And that's very different than typically someone that's trying to make the money last 20 years of retirement versus someone that has to make this money last for 50 years.
I would imagine so. And actually, speaking of youth and the NIL, two-part question. Number one, can you quickly explain to the viewers what the NIL is and how that creates opportunities? And then also how high school even and college athletes should be prepared for their financial future in light of NIL.
Yeah, so NIL is name, image, and likeness. And I think it's important for every young person to think about their point of view of what their name, how they want it to be represented, and what their image is, both for their team as a great teammate, because that's really important. It's not just about trying to make as much money as you can. Is how do I become a great teammate so that I can, build sustainability for my opportunities. And now I think it's a good thing. Players are getting what they deserve in terms of the financial opportunities that were out there 10, 20, 30 years ago that typically the NCAA either kept or the schools kept. Now they're getting a share of it. Now we have to be responsible about it and think about money at a much younger age. And so that could be a blessing or a burden. It could be a blessing if we think about getting organized and understanding that there's taxes you've got to pay on this money, there's a budget, and there's long-term wealth that can be built. But it also could be a burden if you look at it and you jump from school to school just trying to make as much money as possible, and you lose the network opportunity that you had by focusing on an environment of one school or two schools that you could be a part of.
How do you, as a wealth advisor, speak to someone, I don't know, maybe even 16 years old about, no, you want to create an IRA?
Yeah, right. A couple things. Well, it's hard for me even to connect. I'm 52 now, connecting with a young person. I do have kids that age now. And so we've been blessed to have so many clients, athlete clients, make great decisions. They now get involved and help them and mentor them and thinking about how to get through this, because what they don't realize is NBA scouts, NFL scouts are watching how they react to getting money early, because then that'll show them, it's kind of a window into how they're going to act when they get money when they're a professional. So now it's building a process as to how you want to handle that, the image you want to be perceived as in terms of being a professional before you're even a professional. And so it's just, again, short-term milestones, helping them make more informed decisions. They don't want to be told what to do. Right? And not trying to scare them into making better decisions, but helping them have a higher level of respect in the locker room and build a professional locker room in life outside of their typical sports locker room.
And what do you do when a client comes to you, it's their first real paycheck? How do you advise them in terms of what's first things first, what's most important at the top of the list?
So first thing, the difference between gross and net. So if you get a $5 million contract, you're probably going to get about $2.5 million of it, and then there comes questions of like who's FICA and all these other different tax questions, which are, that's the reality of what's happening. And then from there, okay, how do we set up a budget? And so if you're going to make, if it's net $2.5 million, then we want to save 60 cents of every dollar. Like, what does that look like? And so it's just walking through the basics of money going in and out of your life. It's personal finance lessons that honestly we never had in school, that you got to learn at a very young age. And they want to learn it now because it's their own money. I think when we were in school, we weren't making any money. really that weren't that interested. Now it's in real time and it's in real life. People are making better and better decisions at a much younger age now.
And you kind of answered this a couple moments ago, but I'd like to dive back into it. So when you first have your opportunity to make money and you're in this position as a young person making money, essentially you have an unpredictable career and oftentimes a short career. What challenges present themselves to you as a wealth advisor in terms of managing a maybe short but maybe very lucrative amount of time?
So in the short term, you can only control what you can control. So I never want someone to invest in illiquid things. So like the first 3 years of whether it's your high school, college, or professional career, 85% of your money is always liquid. You can get the money back in 3-4 days, typically in public markets. You may start investing in real estate and have some other long-term investments, but very rarely do we recommend those types of things because income is so unpredictable. So even if someone had a one-shot deal and made some money, it's getting them to learn from it and then understand the network around them, because that'll give them an entryway into just meeting more people and more professionals, because maybe they don't end up as an athlete. Maybe they get into a different industry in a different environment, and that $100,000 NIL deal gave them an access or a window into something like being here and meeting people here in terms of a new career, that was my transition of going from an athlete to a financial advisor. So it's just exposing them to a different world outside of sports that NIL can also do, and that's a big benefit of planning around that.
And Joe, I have to ask you before we let you go, this is a very big weekend for you. You were an NCAA basketball player at Arizona. Tell us about how you feel going into this weekend with Arizona having a real shot at taking it home.
Nervous on Saturday. It was getting through Purdue, and so now anything can happen in the Final Four. You got to get a little lucky. And you got to hit shots at the right time, but I really think they have an opportunity to do this. It's been 21 years since Arizona's been in the Final Four, and I think if we beat Michigan, we're going to do it.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate your time and your insight. That was Joe McLean, MAI Capital Management, Managing Partner for Sports and Entertainment. I'm Erin Real, and you're watching Asset TV.